having the time of my life. Well, you can say that again. Good morning, everybody. We're back on Route 66 in Williams, Arizona. Named for William Old Bill Williams, a mountain man and trapper in these parts, and founded back in 1881 as a railroad town. When Route 66 was created in 1926, it radically transformed Williams, and it's been a highway town ever since. Yesterday, we did roll into the town of Kingman, Arizona, but by the time we got there and got to the Power Center Visitor Center, it was closed. Oh. And it wasn't just that, the Mojave Museum in Kingman was closed. Oh. And it turns out when we took the old Mother Road out of Kingman, it was the same story everywhere. Gigantic Pedicus was closed. Oh. The Hackberry General Store was closed. Oh. Grand Canyon Caverns was closed. Oh. And when we finally pulled into Seligman, Angel and Vilma's gift shop was closed. Oh. The Snow Cap was closed. Oh. But they did have a brand new sign for the city, fresh and clean for the 100th anniversary. Nice. And so we ended up cutting our losses and coming straight out here to Williams, Arizona, Route 66's gateway to the Grand Canyon, to begin our adventure up here in the pine trees and the mountains, and in one of the coolest Route 66 towns on the whole road. All across the route since I did my first end-to-end series in 2017 or so, things have changed. So many new attractions and shops and museums have been added, like this one right here, just at the entrance of Williams, which kind of perfectly encapsulates everything that a good Route 66 stop is all about. A converted old filling station preserved on the Mother Road, full of neon and gas pumps and old artifacts, along with all your classic Route 66 souvenirs, your Western wear, fancy rocks and geodes, the works, right? So much to look at in just this one shop alone. And then out back behind the shop, they have a whole gallery of old wagons and old Ford pickup trucks. Part preservation, part museum, part gift shop and tourist trap, part personal collection. Somebody had to gather all those old gas pumps and signs and restore them. Look at this, they got the classic Sinclair dinosaur, an old miniature wagon. And look at this, back behind this fence, right behind the covered wagon, they're selling these giant metal statues you see from time to time in front of Route 66 businesses or houses. A bunch of old trunks and barrels over here, horse-drawn wagons and old railroad luggage cart. They've even got my favorite thing, crazy old wacky mannequins. Hey, who you calling wacky, idiot? Look at this turn of the century Studebaker wagon. That's right, they made wagons before they made cars. This is a display wagon, so it's a miniature wagon the dealers would use to sell you on the full-size deal. And hey, right next to it, a hay wagon. Look at this, you got your classic mural style map of the route from California to Illinois or vice versa. The classic old ore cart, more old cars and trucks with those Pixar eyes, a giant metal bear, another wagon with a mannequin in it. Well, at least he didn't call me a dummy. Burma shave signs, a little fake mine shaft with an ore bucket in it, and a massive log, a massive petrified tree. This one shop is sort of like Route 66 in a miniature. I love it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg in old Williams. Because hey, after all, it is a legit old Western railroad town with layers and layers of highway history added on top. And just at a glance, you got everything from old brick industrial buildings to sort of mid-century modern cafe restaurant style buildings, a historic downtown which at night is infested with neon, and then there's the attractions like this. Cars of the Mother Road, another one of those businesses that's become an attraction in its own right, repurposing an old Route 66 gas station. There's one of the newer spots in town that's popped up in the last 10 years or so. But since its inception, they've never stopped filling this filling station with every kind of wacky Route 66 appropriate photo op imaginable. You got the old cars, and right on the corner, this old gigantic cowboy statue who has dressed himself up like Woody. It's one of the freaking coolest things I've ever seen. Holding an old authentic Route 66 shield, and look at that in his fingertips. It's none other than Woody himself. That's not where the Pixar connection ends though, because in and amongst all the other creative displays at Cars on the Route is something I've never seen anywhere else. Look at this. It's Lightning McMater. A lot of stops on Route 66 will have an old tow truck dressed up as Tow Mater. Some of them will have a little facsimile of Lightning McQueen. Never anywhere else have I seen them merged into one. Maybe they had an accident. They smashed into each other on the racetrack and fused into one entity. Dude, just look at this place. In the place you would have pulled your car up and pumped gas back in the day. You got all kinds of dummy gas station attendants, old gas pumps everywhere, cowboys and Indians just hanging out, greeting visitors. And in and amongst everything else, a whole bunch of old cars. Look at that beautiful old Ford pickup truck right there. I love things like that, especially when they have that kind of patina. Inside, one of those drivers that forgot to hydrate. There's also a 1923 Model T back here in the back of the property, right next to the old method of transportation. Look at this horse and rider back here. Sir, I hate to be rude, but I must tell you, that might be the ugliest dang old horse I ever did see. Ah, heck, if you think that horse is ugly, you should see my wife. Sir, how could you talk about your wife like that? I don't mean my human wife, I mean my horse wife. Oh, dude, look at this back here. This whole side yard even is just full of amazing stuff. Look at the backdrop back there. The mix of sort of styles and forms and antiques and old gas pumps and old signs, most of which are for sale, by the way. I'm assuming even this old chair. Got coin-operated scales back here, even a couple of vintage bicycles. There's no tank on that Hovey, but it's still a looker. And of course, out front here for sale, they got everything from old saddles and old cowboy boots to fishing rods to license plates, picks and shovels and wagon wheels and old gold pans. They got rusty old roller skates and horseshoes and farm equipment. I think this is really cool. They got two old sharpening stones out here, two old grindstones, several sort of cigar store Indians out here. Looks like this fella died and got sucked into the transmission. And look at this right here. Another old Western dummy sitting in some kind of little tiny three-wheeled vehicle there right next to my good old friend Wet Tyler holding up his hamburger. How's it going, Tyler? Dude, just visually, this is so overstimulating and so exciting. I ain't even had my coffee this morning, but I don't need it yet. This is keeping me awake. Look at that big old warthog over here. We got a big elk head. And, oh, I like this guy. He's got a message for us. Never laugh at your wife's choices. You're one of them. This might be the coolest shop in town, dude. Look at this. All the ladies like hanging out here. The cool hipster ladies and the nobodies. See what I did there? Dude, look at that. The old sewing machine table, the old Coke cooler. And then inside, the whole place is covered with dollar bills, much like the Oatman Saloon that we visited yesterday. There's all kinds of old taxidermy in here. There's an alligator skin on the ceiling, an old bobcat, an old cougar, Wild West artifacts, and old pictures. Just look at all of this stuff. It's amazing. It probably gets lost in the shuffle to most people, but outside, one of my favorite things is this sort of plywood cactus right here made out of fence boards. Look at that. That is extremely creative. I actually really like that. And of course, it wouldn't be Route 66 without some hand-painted signs, some flags fluttering in the breeze, and of course, a Betty Boop or two. They're also just hiding so much stuff in and amongst the clutter. Look at this old wagon here. And then behind Lightning McMater, not only do they have an old jail photo op right here. Look at that. That's perfect. All these Route 66 travelers have been signing this thing. You got your reward posters, your hand-painted signage, wanted, dead or alive. But look at this behind it. A full-fledged freaking stagecoach. Look at that. The Friendly Pines Camp stagecoach. This thing is for sale. They are for sale if you want them. Cool. 16 grand in this miniature stagecoach could be yours.
Let's just get one thing clear, though. The driver ain't included. I don't work for nobody but myself. I'm an independent contractor. And don't you forget it.
I love this too. Hiding behind the stagecoach, there's a little saloon front over here with the ace in the whole saloon. A little sign, a little swinging doors back there. This old shed with the old stoves in it, the old laundry. That is just freaking amazing. All this stuff is for sale. We've even got a little mine back here with somebody stuck in the shaft. They had a cave in back there. Ah, the classic sign. She got the mine, he got the shaft. Poor fella. He died with his boots on. And then look at this. Look at this headless guy over here. They're using the wash tub as the coffin. I've seen these miniature covered wagons and things that were obviously repurposed or collected from other previous and long closed attractions on Route 66. Got a little weathering on them. This is the kind of place I absolutely adore. I barely even started my day today on Route 66 and I already feel full of all the classics. All right, well, the classics can't sustain me forever, so I think I might as well go across the street to Brewed Awakenings and grab myself some coffee before we do any more exploring in old Williams. Ah, yes, the breakfast of champions. A vanilla latte. Dude, where do you think they got these booths from? An old bowling alley or something? Those are pretty plush looking. Ah, there we go, dude. That hits the spot. The hot vanilla latte as a memorial to my friend Adam the Woo, whose last name was Williams and who loved this town. Dude, that just perfectly hits the spot. Now, there's always a lot of debate about exactly which Route 66 town perfectly encapsulates the whole experience. Why do I keep saying encapsulates today? Which Route 66 town is the ultimate town, right? And the truth is there really isn't one. The whole point is the Mother Road travels through 8 states, right? You have 8 different states to experience, lots of different towns. But I will say that Williams probably best captures what Route 66 was like in its heyday because it is always busy and full. As the gateway to the Grand Canyon, both by road and by rail, this place is constantly teeming, heaving with tourist traffic. So a much higher percentage of its old buildings, like the Masonic Temple here across the street, have survived, or the world famous Sultana Bar, which has been here since 1912. And I don't just mean that the architecture has been preserved, but that the buildings have been in continuous use and that the town has continuously catered to visitors from out of town. Seligman, Arizona might be the classic Route 66 town that was bypassed and struggled to survive and have a revival. You know, sort of the best capture of the real Radiator Springs type of town. But Williams, Arizona was the best preserved Route 66 town, not just because of the tourist traffic, but also because it was the last one bypassed by the interstate in 1984, which means that literally when I was born, Route 66 through town was still the main highway, the main route through northern Arizona. So this town is basically the one immortal Route 66 town. That's not a big city, right? Look at this behind me. This building, the Roundsville Drug Store, has been here since 1915 and has never really been without a tenant, without a business inside of it. It's the same thing with all of these buildings lining old Route 66, whether it's this old bank here built in 1918, so also predating Route 66, or some of the buildings closer to the railroad tracks we'll get to in a second that date all the way back to the 1880s. Williams is very well preserved. I just love walking around downtown Williams. We were here just a couple of weeks ago. It's just full of so much historic charm, so much good architecture, and colorful characters.
So you decided to come back, huh? Well, old Creed says that's probably because you ain't got nothing better to do.
Yeah, but old Creed, is there anything better to do with your time than travel old Route 66?
Now that I don't know. I can't say about that.
I stumped him. I stumped old Creed. Look at this building that he's sitting in front of here on this corner. This was the old Duffy Brothers grocery store, built in about 1912, so 14 years before this became Route 66. Still functioning as a viable business to this day. Currently called Colors of the West, with a very sick neon sign out here on the side. And look at this. It not only preserves its historic charm, like look at that pressed tin ceiling up there and the old original brick archways and the kind of molding and trimming around the ceiling, but it and its neighboring buildings, which have all been opened up to become one massive store, are full of every kind of t-shirt, every kind of gift imaginable. Look at the size of the selection right here. It's amazing. Look at this. They've opened up all these portals to other storefronts. This whole room is full of only made in America products, supposedly, including all these soaps and incenses and candles, esoteric wind chimes. And then back in that first room, back in that first section of building, every kind of gift from old coasters and hand towels and blankets, throw pillows, Route 66 ceramic tiles, daily devotionals, Route 66 books, sandstone art. You got your hats over there. There's even a whole back room that's pretty much just full of mugs and magnets. And look at this, some TY toys. Remember Beanie Babies? Just amazing. Look at all these storefronts that would have been individual businesses back in the day, all combined into one crazy hole. So big in here, you could legitimately get lost for a while. In fact, help me, I don't know how to get out. It just keeps going and going and going and knitting and knitting. There's no way out. And they won't tell you where the exit is until you buy something. A genius strategy. All right, I was considering buying some toy weaponry, right? Some cap guns. Haven't seen a cap gun selection this big in quite a while, but I decided on this Route 66 license plate instead. I mean, after all, it's Route 66's 100th anniversary, but also America's 250th. All right, now I've been released from Colors of the West. Look at this across the street, the Grand Canyon Hotel. Built in 1892 and the only building on the block to survive the 1895 fire. Although the sign on top says since 1891. So you gotta choose who you're gonna believe. The neon sign or the historic plaque next to the front door. This is still run as a hotel, I believe. Arizona's oldest hotel, as a matter of fact. You can still enter the lobby, check in, and enjoy a stay in a place that people have been staying as they visit the Grand Canyon for 130 plus years. Dude, what's not to love about this freaking place? Got tons of restaurants and bars and gift shops and taco stands, art galleries, Native American products, zillions of old roadside motels, the world's largest steel Route 66 shield sign, tons of neon, and even the king himself, Elvis Aaron Presley, parked right out here on Route 66. There's just so much here. In fact, there's so much Route 66 that this road that we're standing on isn't the only one. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but this road is all one-way traffic. So it's just half of the Route 66 experience and then one block up. There's a whole second Route 66 for you to explore facing towards the railroad depot and the trains that go to the Grand Canyon. Some of the original buildings that house the saloons and the brothels from the legal red light district that catered to the old railroad travelers. By the way, the Museum is still closed. The Museum of Poop, right? Fossilized Poop Museum. I always want to go in here and it's always closed. When am I gonna see some poo? Anyway, this was a flop house and a saloon built in 1910, originally called the Whiskey Alley Saloon. Many of the other buildings on this row served the same purpose, right? Lodging and bars. Some of them are still bars, like this right here, the Canyon Club. Then you've got this right here, the Red Garter Inn, which was originally an old brothel and is now like kind of a place you could stay today. I don't know about, I was gonna say B&B. I don't know if they serve breakfast in there. Look at this, there used to be an opium den at the back of the building. Ladies of the evening would ply their trade, and now you can enjoy a beautiful breakfast downstairs in Anna's place and sleep up there with the ghosts of all them ladies. In the building next door, the Historic Brewing Company was built in 1893 as the Cabinet Saloon. So one of the original saloons in the area. Well, one of the original surviving saloons in the area. And you can still go inside and get tanked to this very day. All right, I've been getting carried away with way too much Williams, as I always do when I come into town. I am on a Route 66 trip with my son London, who, yes, is here. He's been in the car actually editing the previous adventure. But rather than just sticking to the old road today, we're gonna do what 100 years of Route 66 travelers have done: deviate, take a little side trip up towards the Grand Canyon. So technically, we're leaving Route 66 as in the technical US highway, or the old route of the US highway. And yet we're doing something that is very much a part of Route 66, or has been a part of Route 66 since the very beginning. However, before we get anywhere near to the Grand Canyon itself, we have got to check up on one of the most epic roadside attractions in America, the most epic Route 66 roadside attraction in the area, if you qualify taking a trip up Arizona 64 to the Grand Canyon as part of Route 66. It's certainly been a part of Route 66 travelers' agenda for 100 years. Someplace I haven't been since 2019. Yabba Dabba Doo means welcome to you, and this is our welcome back to Bedrock City, home of the Flintstones. It is a circa 1972 roadside attraction about halfway to the Grand Canyon from Williams, recreating the Flintstones' hometown of Bedrock City. You got the prehistoric architecture, the hokey hand-painted stuff, lots of foot-powered vehicles out here, even just in the parking lot. From 1972 till 2019, Bedrock City was rocking as a purely Flintstones attraction, but in 2019, we heard that it was sold and it was going to be closed down, purchased by Raptor Ranch, and going to be turned into the Birds of Prey Park, right? Like a bird-themed attraction. And we knew that the RV park part of it and the campground part of the old Bedrock City, which is still out here today, would survive as part of the new attraction. But nobody had any idea whether or not Bedrock City itself, behind this wall, which used to be a lot more colorful, you can see it's painted a dull sort of flat color now instead of white with the fruity pebbles looking stones. We had no idea whether Bedrock City would survive because there was another Bedrock City location in the northern United States that, when it switched owners, could not get the Flintstones licensing, right? It had to remove all the Flintstones-themed buildings and paintings. And so we assumed that post-COVID, even though there would be a raptor attraction here, a bird of prey attraction, that Bedrock City would be no more. However, as you can see out here on the side of the highway, Fred Flintstone survives. Although I notice he hasn't been touched up, right? Maybe we're in a grandfathered in kind of situation. And yet over here near the prehistoric Flintstones style bones sticking up out of the ground to denote the property line, look at this. This banner says Bedrock City still open. It's really all the explanation we have, right? It's a Rise of Skywalker situation. Somehow Palpatine returned. Somehow Bedrock City is still open, and I'll leave it to you to dig up our previous visits to Bedrock City if you want to see what it looked like at the end of its authentic Flintstones attraction only lifespan. But today, London and I are heading inside of the Raptor Ranch, and as it calls it on the sign over there, Bedrock Prehistoric Park, as well as Fred's Diner and Market, which is the entrance building there, to see what survives of old Bedrock City. Last time I was here, they still have the store here. We were able to buy Bedrock City t-shirts and stuff like that, but the restaurant wasn't really functional. There wasn't a lot going on, and yet I see a bunch of cars out here. I see some flashing faux neon signs, LED signs out front for pizza, for beer, and look at this. At least this one hand-painted sign. Dino the dinosaur has been restored, and you got a very freshly painted Flintstone-style umbrella right there. I think this is a good sign. A very good sign indeed. All right, let's do this. Oh yeah. That's what I remember. Ooh, it's much more brightly lit. Look at all the new coolers and the new shelving. They really cleaned this place up. Look at this down at the end though. It's open, Fred's Diner. You can get Fred's Burgers, Fred's Pizza. I know, Wilma's Pizza, Dino's Chicken, Pebble's Sweet Treats, Betty's Sides. Ooh, even some Bedrock Espresso. I might need some coffee. Still got those hand-painted touches. Look, you got Fred and Dino on the wall there behind London on the entrance to the coolers. Man, that sort of spray stucco coating on the walls is very familiar, but otherwise, they clean this place so much, I wouldn't even recognize it without all the dripping roof and everything. This is amazing. All right, I'm noticing before we even enter here that there is no Flintstones merchandise, right? It's all kind of generic to the Raptor Ranch Park or generic dinosaur stuff, so this brings the whole licensing thing into question. We'll talk about that more in a bit. And yet, just as soon as I said that, there is one piece. A couple of Bedrock City hoodies with a kind of Flintstones-y character on there. All right. In addition to selling cigarettes and propane and Dippin' Dots for $12 per person, you can gain admission to the park. And here we go. Here's the exit of the gift shop, and right away you are greeted by a very colorful Hanna-Barbera style character, the Bedrock City, Arizona sign, and right outside the entrance / exit, look at that. It's Fred Flintstone with Pebbles. Yabba dabba, do you want great grub? Fred's Diner has it. Tasty treats and a kids menu. Oh yes, look at this. Some of these plywood creations, some of these hand-painted characters have indeed survived. And lo, my friends, Bedrock City survives. Look at this, it's still here. Look at that, the volcano still dominates the skyline. You still got all these wacky handmade versions of the Flintstone style vehicles. I can see Dino and Bam Bam right outside of the old gas station. And as always, the further back you get on the property, the more recognizable buildings you find. So let's leave all this stuff that's at the front, including some of the new stuff I spied that they built out here, for the moment and head on back to Fred Flintstone's neighborhood and Fred Flintstone's house. Dude, this is so freaking exciting. I cannot be more stoked to be back here. And look at this. There it is, right there. The Flintstones house, home of Fred and Wilma and little Pebbles in all of its wonderful, crazy concrete glory. See, these kids today didn't grow up with only 3 or 6 channels or whatever. They didn't have to watch the endless reruns of Hanna-Barbera cartoons like the Flintstones, but I did. So coming back and seeing where Fred parks the old car, and taking a trip inside of Fred Flintstone's casa is still very exciting. Look at this. I love just the way all these buildings were constructed. The spray concrete everywhere, concrete over rebar, construction, the minimalistic props and decor inside that have survived. Look at the fireplace right there with some kind of crate over the front of it and some firewood. And look at this, they've at least refreshed the leopard skin curtains here. Check it out, London, just past the Flintstones living room. It's the Flintstones bedroom, and wow, look at that. See, when Wilma first came over and saw Fred's setup here, she was hooked. Flintstones is sort of a 1960s thing, but look at that. That's a very 1980s bed, right? Talk dirty to me. But look at this, in the Flintstones kitchen. We don't have a stove or a refrigerator or anything in here anymore, but Pebbles' little high chair survives. Dude, the Flintstones house would be cool enough, but you can't have Fred and Wilma's house without their next door neighbors and best friends, Barney and Betty Rubble. That would be like having Lucy and Ricky and no Fred and Ethel.
Hey, Fred, come on over. Betty's making us some rhino stew.
I love it, dude. I love the whole setup over here. You got Fred's house just across the way. Just behind me, you have Barney Rubble's house. And then looking out from his front door on the left, you have the policeman's house. That was one of their neighbors. And then behold, yes, the Rubble domicile. Barney Rubble's house. And I don't know, who do you think was more attractive? This was always a debate back in the day. Wilma or Betty? Are you a Wilma man or a Betty fan? It's kind of like Ginger and Mary Ann on Gilligan's Island. I don't know why we even have these debates, but that was always the debate. I was always more of a Betty Rubble guy myself. I never quite figured out how Barney landed Betty, but then again, people can never figure out how I landed Allie either. Actually, I can't even figure this out. Look at this. Okay, Barney and Betty's home has retained a lot more of their furnishings. Look at that, they got the little television set right there. You can put some kind of little critter inside. I'll put one of those little pterodactyls or a dinosaur in there to read you the news. Look at the little home sweet home sign right here over the hearth. You got some of their wooden furniture. I don't know what this originally held. There's some kind of metal thing on there. Don't touch that, kids. And then look at this. See, inside of the kitchen, you still have the old kind of hand-created, janky Bedrock City style stove. You've got Bam Bam's high chair over here, a very random wooden log seat, a functioning back door, which is always nice, and then Betty and Barney's boom boom room. So freaking awesome. I feel a little weird, like I'm just wandering around the inside of someone else's house. But since Barney and Betty are fictional, I think we're okay. Dude, you can see how this would have just blown people's minds in 1972 when this place was opened up by an entrepreneur by the name of Francis Speckles, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was all completely based on Route 66 tourism from Williams up to the Grand Canyon. That was sort of just the main way anyone would visit the Grand Canyon, right? Obviously a world popular attraction. So during the 1970s, when Route 66 was still a viable option to get from Chicago to LA and out here to the Grand Canyon, and had its kind of natural built-in traffic, but also even into the early 1990s when you still had sort of the Route 66 nostalgia trips coming into vogue. Things were still pretty rudimentary in terms of technology compared to what we have today, right? This was still an epic, fun, choose your own adventure, romantic stop for kids. They could run around, they could see the homes of Hanna-Barbera characters that they were indeed very familiar with. I like how the policeman, he's got his stove in here, he's got his TV, but he doesn't have a bed. They don't want to catch him sleeping on the job. Look at his radio in there. You know there's some kind of pelican in there or whatever. But anyway, as Route 66 was bypassed by the interstate, as the American road trip fell out of vogue, as we invented things like smartphones and iPads and Netflix and Facebook and the internet and Angry Birds and on and on and on the list of things goes, it just became less and less popular, made less and less money, and was harder and harder to build up and maintain. It's always been very bizarrely spread out to me, almost like they had ambitions to kind of fill it in with even more buildings, or maybe the quarry, a bunch more attractions. There was originally a small train that ran out here. I believe it ran over around the volcano. There was a lot more cartoon character statues, like we just saw with Dino up in the front. And if you look around, you'll see a lot of like concrete foundations for characters and also for playground equipment. There was a lot more of the playground equipment out here than there is today, although some does still survive. Look at that, there's a teeter-totter over there. You still have the bone-topped swing set, which looks like it's been revived with new chains, new swings. Then you got little gags like this, which looks like it's been refreshed. Pump tester, do not push button, let's see. Okay, that does nothing. And around the other side, the Bedrock City Fire Department push bell in case of fire. Let's okay, the button depresses on the side, but it's hard to maintain stuff out here in the elements, in the weather, that is for sure. But it looks slightly refreshed, needs a tune-up. I love that on the side of Fred's house, you've got a different dinosaur coming up to rob Dino's bowl. I love the mailbox over here in front of Fred's house too, which I didn't notice at first when I walked up, and Fred's rake. I should probably get you a little closer. Don't you eat those bones, those aren't for you. Look it, can't you read? And there's the mailbox. There's Fred's rake for you. There's an old fiberglass Flintstones style bench over here. Look at this, way at the back of the property, we got the schoolhouse. I love that some of these old Flintstone style trees do still survive out here. And so do some of the OG characters like the saber-toothed cat over here and the old camera, so you can come out and get a fun pic of this goofy guy right in front of the Flintstones house. See, this is the stuff that was fun for kids back in the day, putting your head inside of here and trying to line up the shot. You get really into it and pretend you're Ansel Adams or something like that. I'm impressed that some of this stuff looks restored, right? Some of it still looks unpainted and a little dilapidated. Look at this, they got this new sign here, wildlife lives here, don't feed the snakes. And then right here, caution baby rattlers. See what's going on over here. There is a very Bedrock City style snake in the back of this thing. And then there's some snake milk on the side. This box in the middle says, take a snake. I'm a little bit afraid to put my hand in there, okay. Nothing happened to me. But then these also say pull. I should have been expecting that, but I was not. See, this is awesome. This is exactly what I was hoping would happen, is that they'd open their new attraction, but leave the remnants of the past here rather than having to bulldoze. And by the way, I love the school bus right there. It's all repainted, kind of refreshed up here. Then here's the schoolhouse itself. The pull-up bar is still intact there between those giant bones. Oh, and look at this. Betty Rubble is inside of the schoolhouse. Her and this Echo in here. Hello, Betty Rubble. How are you doing? I would love to learn geography from you. Look at this. You got some seats for the kids. You've got a little tic-tac-toe, some slates. I don't know why they chose not to portray Miss Cobblehob or Miss Rockbottom or any of the other teachers from the Flintstones, but as a former student myself, I can tell you, I would have loved having class with Betty. It's just a thing, I don't know. You wouldn't understand, it's a secret. Look at this, look at the refreshed globe over here. I love this. What is this made out of anyways? Probably fiberglass. It's got a new shiny coat of paint on there. And then Betty's looking pretty good herself. There were a lot of these characters around the old Bedrock City, scattered around the town and in various buildings. Clearly you could move them around. That's how Betty ended up in the school here. Seems kind of arbitrary that she's not in her house. But even over the early years that I was visiting, when this was still Bedrock City proper, more and more of those old fiberglass characters were starting to disappear. Anyway, I got totally distracted by a Betty Rubble being in the school. What I was gonna say is I had high hopes that they would leave this stuff standing, but I really thought they would have to remove any kind of Flintstones labeling from it, right? Like maybe they would turn it into generic Dino Town or something like that. Worst case scenario, they would raise it. They would bulldoze everything. That did not happen. I'm stoked that they have left the Flintstones theme intact. I'm just not quite sure how they've done it. Are they grandfathered in? Did they inherit the original license? Does it still have more time on it? Because it seems like they've made some moves to make it slightly more generic. You know what I mean? In terms of the merchandising and stuff, it's not all Flintstones dependent. Or did they lose the license and they're just kind of being tolerated by Warner Brothers or whoever's running Hanna-Barbera? Because it's not like it's competing with any new Flintstones theme park, right? It's one of the biggest mysteries on Route 66. Nobody has published an article really about it with insider information. Everybody's being so quiet about it. My theory is kind of that they're sort of grandfathered in loosely. Maybe they don't exactly have the license. Maybe somebody at Warner Brothers hinted that, you know, we won't come after you, just keep it going or whatever. I mean, it's free advertising for the Flintstones. By the way, I love these medical implements here in the doctor's office. And then next door, something I really need badly, the dentist. I love this is old 1970s chair right there for the dentist chair with just like a little bit of add-ons there. And look at that, there's a little sink to spit in. I would not want my teeth pulled out with these implements though, which like ooh, those are worse than mine. Okay, I'm still in good shape. And look at that, look at the dino drill right there, powered with dinosaur power. I love that. I love that some of the kind of three-dimensional displays and characters still survive. And as lovely as the dental assistant is in here, unfortunately the dentist isn't here, so I guess I'm not getting my teeth worked on today. Anyway, nobody knows how it happened or why it happened. Like I said, it gives somehow Palpatine returned energy to a degree, but somehow Bedrock City has survived, and it really, honestly, looks better than I ever saw it before. Because by the 20-teens, you know, when I was first starting to make YouTube videos out here and stuff like that, it had reached a pretty sorry state. It was pretty clear it wasn't profitable enough to kind of self-maintain. Go back to my older videos, you can see that everything was sort of unpainted, everything was dilapidated, falling apart. And I mean, that's still the case for some of these structures. Like look at this poor old tree right here, needs a little touch-up job. But I can tell you right now, a lot of the stuff like these sweet BPD motorcycles out here have been seriously touched up. New pads, so new seats right there. The wheels are intact, new coat of paint. Like I said, definitely new curtains in all these buildings. They've definitely been pressure washed and cleaned up. Some have been repainted. They're in various stages of being repainted. I love this in the police station. Look at the police radio over there. Obviously there'd probably be a pterodactyl or some little dinosaur inside of that thing. You have some mug shots on the back wall. You got the cop's donut right here at his desk, copy of the newspaper, a badge, the old horn, phone. I love that the desk survives out here, which is just made out of wood, but also this, you know, the kind of built up 3D, curtain blowing in the wind, the built up 3D kind of concrete-y, fiberglassy, whatever they're making it out of, stucco, who knows what this is all made out of. Probably some mix of all of the above. Look at this. Looks like bottle caps for the buttons right there. It's amazing. It's always felt so DIY and kind of haphazard, right? This ain't Disneyland, that's for sure. But speaking for my own generation at least, the 80s and 90s kids, we didn't need it to be Disneyland. We didn't have iPads. We could still use our imagination. Like, look at this fun pic, London. We've been arrested. We're using our imaginations. Or how about this fun piece of imagination? Look, London, we're getting arrested. Or how about this one? Look, London, we got arrested.
Get your moon on and on the highway, looking for adventure. And whatever comes our way, born to be wild.
Yep, there may not be any roller coasters or carnival rides out here, but as Anne of Green Gables would say, there's so much scope for the imagination. Just look how many cars there are. I'm having the time of my life. I love the plywood dinosaurs and the plywood hand-painted characters, and the way some of them still adorn the buildings with the old Flintstone-style font. Look at the size of this creation. Look at the size of the post office and just how many postal employees remain in here. Oh, look at this. We got our snail mail right over here. Gary, we got our snail mail. We got our air mail ready to go. Oh, he looks ticked off that nobody's choosing air mail today. Sorry, buddy.
No, it's just that we're closed today and you stupid tourists keep coming in here.
And then I'm not exactly sure what kind of mail this is supposed to be. Dino mail right there, but it must be the cheapest option because it's the most popular choice. Look at all that. Ooh, Ken Caveman, if you're out there, you got a letter coming your way. Troy Morristone sending something to Ron Brown Rock at Raptor Ranch. That just proves that they've been refreshing stuff, kind of keeping it up out here. It's so awesome. I hope they keep this forever. Even if they have to remove, I almost said Simpsons characters. Even if they have to remove the actual Flintstones characters, I hope they keep this stuff around forever, even if they have to call it Dino City in the future or something like that. Because it's just epic, right? Like, look at the Bedrock telephone exchange in here. And here we have the operator using the wireless shell phone, the latest Stone Age tech. I love that. She can handle a lot of calls at once. And here you have a telephone you can actually pick up, put up to your ear. Hello, operator? How many clams do I need to call the White House? No, I don't have enough clams. Sorry, guys, I can't weigh in on the world's problems today. Look at this. She's even got a little cup of coffee right over there. Cup of Joe. I'm going to get some from Fred's Diner at the end. Another plywood dinosaur there. I love that they have some buses parked back behind some of these buildings. This is all closed up. I don't remember what this building was supposed to be, but the other side of it, past the Great Gazoo, who's, I don't know why, he's just hanging out up there. Is that his name? It's been a long time since I watched the Flintstones. Can you get the Flintstones on Blu-ray? You have a stage out here. So those are the dressing rooms back there and stuff, and you could actually come out. And I don't know if they do bird shows or what, but they've got Raptor Ranch branding over there. They've got some newer folding chairs and stuff right in front of the gas station we saw at the beginning. There's a couple more buildings we passed by. The general store was that big sort of dome in the background there. As you saw, it's sort of closed up, being used for storage. But we also have the grocery store with a little bit of roast pterodactyl going on outside here on the spit. The grocery store always had the most stuff in it back in the day. And look at this. See, now they've been adding stuff, man, because I don't remember this much stuff being in here. Look at the size of that steak on the wall. They've got rhinoceros ribs, hornosaurus ham, not kosher, so watch out, and brontosaurus beef. I think that's the big old slab up there. Yeah. Seriously, that thing is humongous. Some of this stuff is old. Some of this stuff I recognize. Other stuff I don't remember seeing. Maybe it was in storage. It needed to be fixed up. I don't know, but they still have the scales out here, the cash register, some of the old produce that was just kind of painted on an old pallet. See, I love things like that. They should not take this out. And some of the hand-painted characters are still here. You've got scenes of Wilma bringing home some groceries and cooking Fred a succulent Chinese meal, which is never a crime, by the way, enjoying a succulent Chinese meal. And then look at that. There is the cash register. Like I was saying, there's the scales. And then look at all the produce on the shelves. You've got Tunosaurus, Crabosaurus, and Clamosaurus over here, along with whatever the heck weird painted piece of wood that is. I mean, these are just like, I don't know how they chose these various props or how they made it. It was just like anything to get this place built in the first place. And then we're only looking at either what survived or what's been refreshed. But I love this right here. Today's special cactus juice. And you got a little hose spigot right there. It's never worked, but it'd be pretty cool if that was piped up to something and looping through like a jug of cactus juice or something. And then look at this schlump. Dino's favorite. Chopped pterodactyl livers, tenderized crocodile ribs, saber-toothed tiger giblets, dried turtle egg yolks, sea serpent fillets, all mixed up into one beautiful treat. Schlump! Oh, heck yeah. You got fresh dino eggs down there.
Do the dinos have large talons?
And the biggest doggone fruit you ever seen. It's all kind of fixed down. You can't pick it up, but that is bigger than my whole freaking head. All right, the other building I kind of skipped over was the beauty parlor, and I'll try to speed things along, but look how much stuff is actually inside the beauty parlor. I remember these heads right here, the Wilma and Betty collection, all kinds of different styles on display, because as you know, the Flintstones often depicted Betty and Wilma and later Pebbles at the beauty parlor. There's a nice picture of Pebbles right there. I love this fountain right here. It's an elephant for the sink. And then you have another cash register, the Hedgehog Brush Company. Look at this. You got the scissors being a bird. Perfect Flintstones reference. Some more styles. The little waiting area. I love the hair dryer right there. The other room, the second half, is sort of the men's barber shop over here. And so you've got a bunch of men's cuts on display. And of course, the newspaper back here, you've got the sports news. You've got some aftershave, another bird as scissors operation. And there's a picture of Bam Bam on the back wall. Don't worry, gang. We'll move on as soon as my hair's dry and as soon as I finish reading this issue of Better Homes and Caves. All right, that's all the buildings in the main village, but we did pass over one key attraction, which is, of course, the giant dinosaur, which is not just Fred Flintstone's steam shovel. Hey, by the way, where's his eyeball? But it is also an epic slide. You have to use it at your own risk, but it is still open out here. And look at this, you can take off and slide down this dinosaur's rump if you're brave enough. I was trying to get London to do it, but he flatly refused. Oh wait, he's up there. He's doing it. Look at how casually he's doing it. You know he's having fun. Hold on, hold on. Yes, the inner child is not all burned out of him. Go for it, London. Go down the slide. Slide, my child. Slide into the future. How was it?
It burns. It burns really bad.
Burns from the friction or burns because it's the heat?
Burn because it's metal.
Nothing more nostalgic than an old school playground slide burn on your backside. Back in my day, boy, that's how we played. We burned our backsides, we fell off jungle gyms, and we beat each other in the head with bats. That's why we're so smart today. I love that. It is just like Fred's work dinosaur. You climb up these steps here to the slide itself. I love that it's still in operation. Metal steps, metal slide. Let's see how hot this is. It can't be that hot. He's exaggerating. I really wish I wasn't wearing shorts right about now. No! It wasn't the heat. I got a bunion back there. Whoa! Yeah, you can see some newer fiberglass, Stone Age looking benches and see the foundations for some of the old concrete ones. I don't remember seeing this before. The caveman challenge, right? It looks like you run along the logs and there's some swinging bars and a little bit of rock climbing inside. So they've added a few things to this place since they purchased the property back in 2019. But I can't help being a lot more taken with the old school stuff. Like this giant prehistoric snake. Look, Ma! We can be eaten by a snake! Look, Mom! I'm being digested! I've been digested! You see, London, I take you to the best places. Where else can you be excreted by a snake? You got all kinds of abandoned attractions out there, things that look like old drive-in theater screens, but the biggest and best attraction out here has got to be the Volcano, which is missing its pterodactyl on top. This is, I believe, where the train ride used to go back when this place was first built in the 1970s, but the Raptor Ranch, unlike all those years when Bedrock City was basically half abandoned, even though it was still open, has refreshed the attraction and lets you ride through once again on the Volcano Raceway by putting some pedal power tricycles out here. Very appropriate for Bedrock City. I was waiting for somebody to take our ticket and then I realized there is nobody to take our ticket, and you don't need a separate ticket for this. Cool, I'm gonna be the first one in the Volcano Raceway. Eat my dust, boy. Oh, dude, heck yeah, look at this thing. Look at my hog. I think my legs are actually a little too long for this, but I'm making it happen. My legs are scraping against the handlebars, but I'm doing it. I'm racing. I do not fit on this thing. This is not fair. Just between me and you guys, I'm letting him win, right? I want to boost up his self-esteem. Ow, my legs. Ow, this was much more painful than expected. All right, we're doing it. We're going inside the volcano. I can hear the prehistoric rumblings. There's nothing in here but a smaller volcano to power the large one. Oh, we've emerged. Oh, look at him all smug over there with his smug expression. You can see just what an awkward position this is for me. I'm a little too long for this attraction. Do I look cool, Mom? My mom says I look cool. Whew, they're like adult big wheels right there. See, look, okay, it's awkward for you too. I was on a shorter one. I knew it.
No, it was in fact shorter.
Okay, I knew it. It was shorter. I was not crazy. You had an unfair advantage right there. Word to the wise. Pick your racer carefully before you set out on your journey. All right, we're back at the beginning of the labyrinth. We're over here at the Dino gas station with Dino, the dinosaur, and a whole bunch of extra spare wheels. Look at those things. And then there's Bam Bam right here. Oh no, somebody Bam Bam's arm right off. Oh, we need a medic. Medic! There is no medic. Bam Bam is doomed. It's okay, Bam Bam. Prosthetics technology has come a long way. You'll be all right. All right, well, you got the rock bottom towing over here, and then up at the front, we have a little bit of a prehistoric garden right near the exit. We'll see that last. And then the main attraction out here now, the animals. Last time I was out here, there was one lonely goat known as the Goatosaurus. I see they've carried on the tradition of Goatosaurus. We'll see that in a second. But look at this, here's Stinky the owl somewhere here. Stinky's down in this corner here. I don't have anything small enough to get through those bars. And then for $1 a piece, when we entered the park, we got these little bags of animal feed. And look at the Goatosauruses. They already know we're coming. Hello, Goatosaurus, how are you doing? You want this, don't you? Yes, that's a good Goatosaurus. You like that? Yes. Oh, my son. Feed the Goatosaurus, the vicious. Oh, look, they're popping out of dinosaurs. I didn't even notice that. The Goatosauruses are pleased. Hello there, you ornery little Goatosaurus. I don't know why, but that is so stinking funny. Oh, they also have regular modern goats. Look at this, they're packing a punch over here with these little alpacas. I don't always know the difference between llamas and alpacas. They seem a little gun shy, like they don't want me to pet them. Maybe London can get closer if he bribes them with food. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Are they bitey?
No.
No? Cozy? Friendly. How soft are they? I want to touch. Just let me pet your little Edgar haircut, please. They know their value, dude. They don't get pet for free. I like that. They know what they're worth. Oh, look at this. We got some sheep over here. Ba-ram-you. It worked. Oh no, it was the food again. It was the food again. Do you know, babe? Pig in the city. Well, at least I got to pet the sheep. I piggybacked off your food. I love this because there's something for everyone. If you get tired of feeding goats, you can play a good old round of cornhole or take a fun pic. Okay, as I also mentioned, look at this. There's some Raptor Ranch information, some bird of prey information right here. And then behind it, we got a velociraptor and some kind of like little prehistoric garden here. It's like a little bit of a fossil dig, and it tells you what the different dinosaur bones are. There's another little kind of prehistoric car to sit on for the little tykes, a plywood pterosaur in the back, some plywood dinosaurs from the old Bedrock City, and a little T-Rex over there. Kind of a nice little shady spot to hang out. But then before we go back through the exit entirely, right over here is all the new stuff I've never seen before. Not only does Fred's Diner seem like it has an outdoor seating area now and smoking area, but you've got all these animal cages here, and I don't know exactly what they're for. I believe these are the raptors. Oh yes, inside of here is a white-necked African raven. It's almost impossible to show you what's between those bars, but believe me, there's an Aplamato falcon, Aplamato, I can never pronounce that. We're sitting right here inside these bars. I don't know if you could see her. How beautiful is that? Her name is Sweetie. Hi, Sweetie. A raptor. And then over down the way, we also have Hawkeye. We're using London's phone to try to see Hawkeye in there because, yeah, these bars are not very film-friendly, as it were. There's a peregrine falcon named Benny, apparently, that we can't see. Although when these doors are open, like they are on the side of Benny's enclosure, it says out flying. So I think a handler may be out letting Benny fly around. Benny is a peregrine falcon. Hawkeye's a Harris's hawk. There's a great horned owl named Walter in here. A Eurasian eagle owl named Wicket, like the Ewok. All very cool to see in person, but basically impossible to see here in their cages, even with your iPhone. Very, very, very difficult to see. I'm also glad to see that the prehistoric restrooms are still intact, which I'm going to avail myself of at this moment. But they did add a few raptors to this place. This is not how I pictured it. I pictured them bulldozing everything else and then building some kind of massive cages like a zoo almost. Instead, I mean, unless there's some other Raptor Ranch location, and this is just a satellite location to run Bedrock City, you basically have these 4 little buildings full of birds of prey, and you have some Gotosauruses over there, some llamas, and then the rest of it is basically kind of still the way that it always was, only a little bit refreshed. So hopefully this place that gets a little more visitors keeps its popularity up. They're able to afford to do more and more refreshing so we can keep these restrooms in operation for all time. Bedrock City has always been a very, very strange, half-empty, sort of bizarre landscape with this very, very prehistoric kind of tufts of grass growing underneath you. I've always loved it. It's always been one of those wacky, weird attractions that almost seems like it was outdated from the moment it was built, and yet it's so classic that I hope it never, ever disappears. I remember when it was for sale being incredibly jealous of whoever was going to get to snag it up. But the whole issue at that time was that nobody was sure whether or not the new owner would be able to keep the Flintstones license, right? So a lot of people thought that just to be allowed to keep this place open at all, you would have to demolish it. I'm just glad to see that that has not been the case. Long live Bedrock City, long may it rain. And now London and I are going to make our way the rest of the way to the rim of the Grand Canyon. This particular episode, though, has gone on long enough. If you enjoy us roaming around America for your entertainment, there are many ways that you can help us continue to do so. First, the fast, fun, and free versions. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. All that's free. It only takes you a second, helps me out a lot. I already really appreciate you for watching the video till the very end. That helps more than you could know as well. But if you really want to go the extra mile in your pedal-powered car, we sell all kinds of merch, including the best hot sauce you've ever tasted, brand new car magnets. We got some Route 66 keychains, a brand new Randomland pin, and these Kindred Spirits, R stands for Adventure hats, as well as my signed books over at randomland.com, where you can also find a link to our Patreon, the absolute best way to keep the show on the road. That money goes straight towards all the traveling expenses and overhead. But again, just for watching this, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for joining us here in Bedrock City on Route 66, sort of. For now, we've done our duty. It's time to go home and sleep well. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.